Soundstripe.
Welcome to South End Supporters, a St. Louis City SC podcast powered by Ready to Live Wellness and coming at you from the Warrior Logo Wear Studios. David Heck alongside Eric Cole and the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff. Gents, it's been a week for me. I've been off last week, but decided to come back and give the people what they want, which is city news coming off a big win at home against Seattle. How are you boys this evening?
I think what the people want is the three amigos back all.
Oh, it feels good, doesn't
recording.
it?
It does. It feels good. It feels right. It feels right. Nice.
It's how God intended it, Dave.
That is.
I just imagine people's disappointment when they hear the end of that intro music and they're all excited, and then they hear my voice and they're like, "Oh,
now
he's not
listen, you do a fantastic job of running points. You really do. And
Thank you.
that our sods last week, they went great. Other than when you look at the clock, you could tell that somebody wasn't there to quarterback the thing because they both ran over an hour. So hopefully we get back on track this week. We have somebody who actually pays attention to time, so we don't just geek out over tactics like we kind of did last week.
Which is
As
funny
you say
because
that,
you still tell me, like, before every episode, you're like, I'm starting my clock, and I'm like, okay, good, I got a clock too. And I don't think either.
You
of us
run
ever
through a
checked
stop
that.
sign worse than a Zaring. I'll tell you that much. You see me holding you up at third base, and you think you're getting waved in.
I have a feeling I'm sliding in at home, man.
I do have the timer going, just so you all know. I started it a little bit late, but we'll be on track this time. I guess that's the only value that I bring to this thing. I will say this. I thought the episodes were great. I listened in as we were on our way to state. Unfortunately, Mascuda did not place in the state volleyball tournament. They went against a bunch of monsters, enormous human beings, I tell you. Scarlett, my daughter, is like 5'9", the tallest girl on her team. She would have been like mid-height to the low end of the squad. They were huge. And, they played really well. I think they lost like 25-19, 25-18, so it was competitive. But there was just like no room for error. They were so big. They had such good offense. They hit the ball really hard. And I don't know any other volleyball terms, so I'm not going to try to throw them out now.
Side
I'll
out?
sound like a dummy.
Side out?
They're side out. There were a few side outs. Yeah, several of them, actually. Yeah. Throughout the course of both sets, Dave, as they call them in volleyball. But the thing that people want, this isn't a volleyball podcast.
It could be.
It could be. It could be. It's not.
This podcast has covered so much outside of soccer that it could be any podcast you want.
Yeah.
I think. At this
Yeah, I
point.
will say on the way up there, I did indulge. I saw you guys' video, the South End Slobs, and I want to talk about the food because, first of all, I hadn't seen the Philly cheesesteak fries before. Eric, I know you had them. They looked really, really good. Dave, the pizza, I've had the Pie Guys pizza with the hot honey drizzle. That's a solid place. I really liked the video. I thought you guys did great. I recorded my own South End Slobs video eating gas station roller grill items, taquito, and the buffalo chicken thing. I don't know what to do with the buffalo chicken. I don't know if you put it in a bun or if you just eat it without. So I was very confused. I was just holding this like piece of meat. It was kind of dangling a little bit. I didn't know what to do with it. Do you bun it, Dave, or do you not bun it?
Oh, no bun,
like,
baby. Take
no bun.
Take
Okay.
that tube meat and just shove it in your mouth.
I could see bunning it and then throwing like a little ranch or blue cheese drizzle on it. I think that could be a nice play.
Little jalapeno
but
ranch.
It is a solid play.
Yeah, I didn't do it because I wanted to stuff it in the bag. You put it in the bag with the taquito.
Yep.
So that's how I did that. I recorded it, but it's 6 minutes long. I didn't realize how long it was going to be. I opined on this food much longer than I expected to, but perhaps that will be available to be seen in an upcoming sode of South End Slobs.
I cannot wait for that. That is incredible.
Yeah, me neither.
It should be good. You know what I can't wait for, Dave? Let's talk about this game. Seattle comes to town on St. Patrick's Day wearing some sort of monstrosity of a uniform, Dave. You said in a text over to me that this is the worst uniform ever worn at City Park. I hadn't seen it yet because the game, I wasn't at the game, so the game was still on commercial break going into the actual game. And I reminded you, I said, listen, RSL has come to town before, Dave. It can't be that bad. And then I saw it, and whoever thought that the green color that they had put together with this light blue, baby blue look goes together, like that is horrendous looking.
Yeah, it was criminally offensive to the ocular vision. I don't know what else to say. I didn't think it could get worse than that. Just that kit, just the top, but it did. They should be ashamed for what they put out on the pitch. Actually,
At least you only had to see it up in 204. I had it right in front of me, and I had to
yeah.
really.
I don't know how you held down those Philly cheesesteak fries. Like that was regurgitation worthy. So
They were awful. The play on the field, pretty good, I think. I mean, this defense continues to impress. Ben Lunt getting a start. I don't think we need to bury the lead here, which outside of the win is probably the Burki news, and we'll get into it on the back end. But this news came out fairly late. I think I got a notification maybe 30, 40 minutes before kickoff. And it's like Burki's out with a broken hand, broken wrist, and he's not going to be playing, at least for the foreseeable future. What were you guys' thoughts, and what was like the overall feeling in the stadium when this news started making its way around?
oh my God, I think were we talking to Eric? Were we talking to Kyle from No Goal Patrol then, or was that afterwards? I mean, kind
It
of.
was right. So the thing with the news is, I think, I'm sure City did this on purpose. They sent that notification like right after the starting 11 was announced. So I think they were just almost hoping it would kind of get blurred in all the news, because when I started talking to people kind of around like our seats and everything, they had no clue. Like I came down and I was like, "Do you hear the news?" And they were like, "What news?" Like, and I said, "Burki," they had no clue. So I think, probably strategically planned, they tried to maybe like just hide the news. But a lot of questions I kind of have with it being a training knock, they said, because Dave and I were talking then once the news came out, like, how many training knocks have we had now that have cost players big time? Ostrak was out. What, didn't Jarl get like a concussion in training last year? Like, it's just kind of a worry. Now, if he took a shot off the hand, or maybe he goes to plant on his own, like, I can have that. But like, if somebody stepped on his foot or anything crazy to that effect, it's like, man, especially who knows when it happened, because they said, didn't they say like Friday's training? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? What are we doing? You should just be running through the motions Friday, the day before a game. But yeah, I still haven't seen any update yet, just that he was going to go see the hand specialist. But like, you got to figure all things a goalie can't really afford to have a fracture or break in. It's
Yeah, but to answer your question, I mean, everybody that we spoke to when the news came out, the air kind of got sucked out of the stadium. You had all this excitement about a Seattle team coming in that seemed vulnerable, and City defense, looking good, but not looking as good as they had in the first two games last week against the Galaxy. So it was really kind of a anxious moments there until kickoff, and then once they got rolling, it was kind of, I think it settled a lot of people's nerves this game about being able to still accomplish what this team wants to accomplish while Burki is on the mend.
Well, I'll say this. Like, I think that Ben Lunt last year proved that he was a serviceable backup. There was concern in year one, like what would happen if Burki ever went down, because the limited time that Lunt got to play, it wasn't spectacular by any means. Now, granted, the defense wasn't near as good then as it is now either. But last year, he made some great saves in limited duty, and I think earned a lot of respect in fans' eyes. This game was no different. Granted, not tested a ton. One save is all he ended up having. But I saw a lot of people talking about just how well he directed the defense and kind of took charge on the back line and played really, really well. So, like, the guy takes up a ton of space in the goal. He's 6'6" or 6'7". The kids like to say 6'7". I don't know if you guys have heard that, but that's new Gen Z brain rot out there for you. But anyway, look, he's a big target in the net, and like I said, take up a lot of it. I'm sure it's hard to get down to to get balls that are on the ground in the lower corners, but seems to be an imposing force anyway there. And overall, like I think regardless of what direction this team goes in the future with Burki's health, you're probably in pretty good hands, especially with the way the defense played on Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't think
I was going to ask you.
I don't think with
ahead.
Ben. Sorry, let me just make this point real quick and let you roll. I don't think with Ben the issue is his ability as a goalkeeper outside of his distribution, because Burki is such a phenomenal distributor of the ball, and you could kind of tell right off the bat, like, Ben's got a big foot, but he does not have the same confidence in making passes on the ground through the middle to the center mids, and then when he's asked to kind of flare the ball out to the wings, it's not nearly as accurate. So I think that's where you'll have the biggest sort of regression in what City is able to do. If you're going to play a game like that Saturday where you play in that 5-4-1 and you might need to rely on some long balls from your keeper, without Burki back there, it might be a little bit more of a, spray and pray, as they say. And, it's going to put a lot more pressure on the forwards, I think. But his abilities to keep the ball out of the net, I think, are fine for what City need.
Yeah, the guy that I was talking to who sits directly behind us, like that's kind of the points that I was making. I was like, as far as shot stopping ability, I mean, he's got it there. He's got great reaction time for how tall he is. The two biggest areas that I feel like are going to be noticed without Berkey is, yes, the distribution skills, not only with the feet, but like Berkey looks to go quick a lot of times with throws as well. And Lund, usually when he catches it, he's pretty slow and methodical with trying to get, see what he has available to him. So the distribution skills, especially under pressure, which he wasn't really too much under pressure, but he did look a lot more confident. And I know probably a big role in that is just how great the defense is playing right now and knowing that he's going to have a little bit of stability in front of him. The other big thing that I noticed between him and Berkey is a lot of times is just the confidence when it comes to collecting or whether to go or not to stay back in goal when it comes to like crosses and that type of stuff. So we kind of talked about this earlier in the year. At what point do you spend huge on a goalie and using that DP spot? This could be a good confidence boost as far as Lund if they do decide to go the route. But my question was going to be more for you guys because I didn't really get on at the socials as much this past weekend. But did you notice, given those performances that the last time we saw Lund, did you notice a little bit less panic, we'll say, when the Berkey news came out as compared to like to your point, if it would have been last year, people would have said they would have said this was a great season. We'll see you again. Like they would have rode off the next however many games we will be without Berkey. Whereas I don't know, I got the feel maybe within stadium it was not as crazy panicked as we've come in the past. Did you notice anything online or?
Yeah, I'll say this. There are very few realists that exist on the socials. It's like one side or the other, and it's about as polarizing as they come. I don't pay attention to it a lot, but one thing I noticed was people completely throwing in the towel and being so just distraught. There's no way that Ben Lund's going to be able to do this. And then there were others like the super loyal, like apologists almost, right? That are like, no, we'll rally around Kurt Warner and we'll play good football, right? To quote Dick Vermeil. And you saw some of that as well. So I don't think there was any like in between. It was like you're on one side of the fence or the other. And that's just the way that these things tend to go.
This is true.
It wasn't the only thing that I was surprised about. Obviously, Lund playing was a shock to everybody, especially folks in stadium that weren't maybe necessarily checking their phones. I got the update probably right when it came out on the app. If you weren't looking or if you were talking to somebody or having a pregame beverage or in your case, a delicious pregame meal that we'll get into, you may not have seen it. So that was something that was surprising. I was more not concerned, maybe is the word. Yeah, maybe it was a little bit concerned with the rest of the lineup that was put out, not the back line or the midfield, but up front. So we go Lund, we've got Horn, Hebert, Kessler, and Totland, which has been really solid in the back line. And Watson, Leuven, and Durkin, Wallem, Hartle, and Teutschert rounded out the starting 11. No Klaus, no Simon Betcher, both dressed. Betcher did come into play. Klaus did not, but both were there and available. I'm curious to get your initial reaction to the starting 11, thinking that Teutschert was like the lone striker left up top when you've got these other two that have been mainstays, at least one of them, in the starting 11 since they've been together here.
At first, my initial thought was, okay, I think this is a mistake. I think you need one of your hold-up players in this game because setting up like they did deep again with a 5-4-1, 3-5-1-1, whatever you want to call it, I thought there was going to be a lot of opportunity to have to, play the ball into Klaus or Betcher's feet and them hold up and, wait for the cavalry to come. But what you notice as the game started to unfold was that Teutschert's pace was really kind of a problem for their backline, and not that City capitalized on it because they missed him so many times in the first half, and it was really frustrating. Him, you could see especially. But yeah, at first it was kind of really a surprise, like because it's been either one of Klaus or Betcher. So you started to wonder, did one of them pick up a knock? Because they haven't been playing 90 minutes a game, either of them. So it was interesting, but it definitely kind of told you right off the bat that, okay, we're going to set up deep, we're going to absorb pressure again. But, I think overall, I understand the idea of more pace, but at the same time, I probably would have went with one of my hold-up forwards.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my surprise is if you're going to go to a lone striker kind of system, I would have put Teutschert third on that list as far as hold up play between Klaus and Vetch. I think where we utilize Teutschert is much more, like you said, on the runs off the ball of that person laying off, those runs that a lot of players don't think to look for that he can find. And that's where we end up springing him for a lot of these great opportunities. So I was just more surprised if we were going to go to that kind of, what seemed to be looking like a defensive setup, that I would almost think that, well, we have an outlet out there, a single outlet. We'll probably want to look to hold up so the rest of the line can kind of shift up with them. And I just didn't see Teutschert being that side of guy. So I guess as far as like initial reaction, that was my first thought.
And I'm curious too. Like again, Betcher got in the game late, almost scored. He did play pretty well. It seemed like when he got in, and every time he gets into, he like just seems to cause some trouble. It seems like with the other team, right? So he's kind of like an S disturber, and it's fun to watch. Klaus though doesn't, and I'm curious, like, can you recall a time where Klaus has been healthy, been dressed in the lineup? Sorry, been dressed, I should say, as a sub and not entered into the game at all? That seemed really odd to me.
Only when he was coming back from injury last year.
Right.
That'd be the
So
only
healthy.
time. Yeah.
yeah, but seemingly healthy. It's odd to not see him at least come in. And I mean, granted, that's a lot of firepower to have off the bench, and they did use most of their subs. I think at least 4 had come in this game, if not all 5. But it was odd again for me to see Klaus be listed as a sub and then not see any playing time. So that was one thing that just kind of struck me as odd, and I think that most people were probably in the same boat. It didn't matter. Results are results. You get 3 points. You win 1-0 on an absolute beautiful free kick by Edward Leuven. I want to break this down because it was fun how the whole thing developed. I don't know if it was intentional or just to try and stop the run, or if he did truly slip, but the Seattle defender comes down and gets a hand on the ball just outside the box. And at that point, when Leuven steps up, this had a feel for me anyway of like reminiscent of old Edward Leuven. We've seen this so many times where he scores in situations like this, and I could have predicted it. I'm like, he's going to the goalie's right and he's going to try and put it top corner, and he did, and it was just magnificent goal. Like, I haven't seen what awards have come out that this is even in the running for any type of goal of the match week, but a beautiful goal nonetheless, and giving City a decisive 1-0 lead that ended up staying that way the entire rest of the game. This thing took place in like the 16th minute. Impressive to say the least. I mean, your thoughts on it, just kind of break this down a little bit, how the play developed, and your thoughts on the way that Leuven's played thus far this season, and have we turned a corner a little bit going into it after this magnificent goal that he scored?
I think the announcer kind of was pretty accurate on it when they said like he needed that. Like, he's been playing phenomenally, but there's something about just the pressure that continues to mount from the outside when you're not getting on the statistically, and especially when he's looked at as our creator. Dave's pointed this out a lot of times. That's where he watches the games to see how it develops through the midfield, and I feel like that's who we look to go through. I don't know if the defender thought maybe he was a little farther out, but like, yeah, right where he grabbed it is about right where you want to have that free kick, because you want to be a little bit farther out from the box so you have enough time to get it up and then to drop back down, which we've seen Leuven do phenomenally so many times. And it was a great taken free kick. Super happy for him to get that, just off his shoulders and build that confidence again. Like we say, whenever he is getting closer and closer with these free kicks, he's already hit the post this year, just to be able to put one in and just build that confidence knowing next time he's on it. But I think Leuven's been playing really well. I've been a little bit surprised with some of the substitutions. I think I texted you guys. It's frustrating for me every time Morales is coming in on a sub that it's automatically Leuven. I've said it multiple times. I would love to see those two paired together. And And especially in these games when you're looking to shut out and not just continue to absorb pressure, but to maybe look to hold possession a little bit better. And I feel like Leuven gives you a little bit better, in my opinion, over like Durkin or Watts. So, and I know it was kind of also, we were kind of sprung in with, Tots going down. Maybe that's why we didn't see Klaus, is maybe there would have been plans later, but we kind of had a panic substitution go in with Tots going down in the game. But and it looks like, Leuven was a little frustrated and confused as well, getting the subs. I remember like in the past couple of years where Carnell always used to say that Leuven was really frustrated not getting, when anytime he would get pulled or not off the starting. So, I'm kind of curious to see why. I wish it wouldn't be that every time we're looking to bring Morales in the game, which I love when he does come in the game, that automatically seems to be that number 10's on the other side of the board.
Yeah, so start with the goal. The goal was magnificent. I looked at the guy next to me, who I did not know, but we made friends. After this goal, we hugged it out. It was hot. I looked at him when the free kick was awarded, and I said, "This is the perfect distance." I said, "All he has to do is get it over the wall, and it's in." And he did. I mean, I want to say it was like 23, 24 yards out, maybe a little further than that, but it's perfect. It's the prototypical little left of center, right-footed up over the wall. There's nothing you can do about that. We were watching it again today, and you're looking at the goalie's positioning guarding the far post, and you're kind of like, well, doesn't he know what's coming? And he does, but it doesn't matter. He has to put himself in a position where he can see the ball behind a 4-man wall and then several City players. That's where you're going to be. If you want to go stand in the middle of the goal and then have to guess both ways, I mean, Leuven can hit a knuckleball to the far post just as easy as he can hit a dipper to the near post. So, yeah, absolutely just the prototypical goal. And I kind of think that's why it's not in goal of the week. There are some absolute bangers this week, man. If Hassani Dotson doesn't win for his volley and that for Minnesota, Dave, DH, and Eric, if you haven't seen this goal, it's absurd. And that's saying a lot. Chicho scored a banger off a corner kick. Alonso Martinez from NYCFC scored a side bike off a deflection. And then
Messi's in there?
Messi's is not in there, no. And then Jovan Lukic. Jovan Lukic also scored a banger of a volley. So it's criminal that Leuven's isn't on there, but there are some sweet goals this week. As far as how he has played, I think he's done absolutely everything that Olaf has asked him to do. He's playing an extremely different role this year than he has the last 2 years. He's being asked to be a lot more patient, hold up a lot more space, and do a lot more of the little things that a 6 does, as opposed to in the past where he's kind of played like an 8, where he's more, I'm going to go forward. And while I am kind of like Eric, I'm a little bit frustrated that he's not getting an opportunity to be paired up with a 6 that can do the same things that he can do so he can move forward a little bit. I understand the rotation early in the season, right? He's had some injuries in the last couple of years. You want to keep him healthy. I want to see, like Eric said, I want in the best 11. I want to see him and he's escaping the other center midfielder. Sorry,
Morales.
I'm losing my mind. Morales. Sorry, there's so many new names to learn. I want to see him and Morales in there with Durkin, but he's been great. I mean, he's not stuffing the stat sheet, but who is? I mean, this team scored 4 goals? Four goals
in two games.
Yeah, so
right?
He's doing exactly what's being asked of him. He's working really hard on the defensive side of the ball. I could do for him working a little bit harder to get open in the middle, but I mean, other than that, you can't have any complaints right now. He's doing the best job that he can, and he's doing what he's asked to be doing.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed watching him play. It is different because there's so much more firepower. And granted, right, 4 goals in as many games essentially this year. It's different because they haven't been scoring at the clip that they've scored at different parts in this team's history, especially late last season whenever Betcher and Hartle and Teuscher and those guys came to this club. However, he does seem to make an impact, and I still have really enjoyed watching him play. To Eric's point, like it is interesting seeing him get subbed out so often, because I don't recall seeing him get subbed out a lot, like hardly ever. He was almost always a 90-minute guy, it seemed like, in the first 2 seasons here. But, it's probably a good problem to have because it just means this team is so much deeper. Like, I mean, it's only been a couple of years, but you recall seeing some of these City 2 guys that would come up. Miguel Perez, for example, right? Like nothing against him, but he was in high school essentially when he was playing at the highest professional level in the United States. And you've seen this time and again with some of the guys they've had to rely on to come up. They don't have to anymore. Like I said, you got João Klaus that's not even getting in the lineup, not even making an appearance as a sub in a game that you've won. And it just goes to show you with how much they've rebuilt and built this thing to be a contender. I truly believe this season, last year I didn't feel that way at this point in the season. I don't think a lot of people did. If they were really honest. But this year it feels a little bit different just with the amount of depth and star power that they have.
You have significant versatility advantage over a lot of teams right now. And you have not had to pivot really to an offensive formation or make wholesale offensive subs. What you've seen in the last 2 games is, okay, we built a lead that we want to protect. We're going to park the bus now. We're going to build the wall. I don't want to have to see 5 wholesale offensive subs, but you think about the potential to shift the personnel that they have and to go to a 3-5-2 with, potentially 3 attacking center mids at one time, right? And Leuven, Morales, and Cello, and then Teutschert, Petcher, Klaus, whoever, and then you still got Wallum and whoever else is going to play on the right now that Tots is injured. So you have not had to see them pivot to, hey, we got to go get a goal, right? Because the Colorado game, they had all the pressure the whole time. They just couldn't put one in. San Diego, it never really presented itself. LA, you put the ball in the back of the net, at will without many really offensive chances. So I have full faith and confidence that if they have to pivot to hey, let's go get a goal in the last 15 minutes, they can put the personnel on there really quickly.
Let's also not forget, outside of the San Diego game, how many goals should they have had? They've also left a bunch of goals on the table as well. So it's not like even though he's not going to your point, a wholesale offensive type substitutions and stuff, it's not like there aren't chances to be had there. Yeah, Klaus didn't come in, but Hartl, I think, could have had a couple on the night. So there's always, it seems like there's at least 3 out of these 4 games that, we haven't really put the ball in the back like we want, but the opportunities have still been there. I think Olaf's, when he came into this team, he being a defender, he really looked to shore up the defense. And I mean, God, has he done that ever? I told you guys that night, the biggest thing that I've just noticed with the defense, and especially from our seats, and it's a great vantage point, is just the confidence that it seems to have back there, just in the distribution. And especially now, I feel like that's going to be so important when you do have somebody like Lunt coming into goal who's, going to be a little, nervous, you got to think, with the pressure that he feels like he's going to have on himself. But just watching Kess back there just orchestrate things, and he just seems to bring the best out and calm everybody else down, like Hebert we've seen in the past, where he'll get a little flustered and try and force a certain pass, and it just seems like even Hebert's swinging the ball just to look a little bit more confident that night. And then Horn, with his experience over in Europe, he just seems a lot. There was a one point, we're coming out of our own defensive, and we're only like 5 or 10 yards outside of our box, and Horn does like a little back heel to Leuven. Just the confidence that these guys are playing with right now, I'm thinking like, boy, that was risky, but it just looks so effortless. But being there that night, it really just, the biggest thing I noticed is just composure on the ball with the defense. And then when you have a defense that, is absorbing this pressure, and then you have a brick wall like Kess, who's just heading out anything and everything that comes within that 6-yard box, it's I think that was Olaf's biggest thing he looked to change so far this year. And look, it's working. We still haven't given up a goal, and we're 3rd on the table right now, and we know we can still continue to improve on the offensive side.
3.8 xG conceded through 4 games. That's 6th best in the league right now, and no goals conceded at all.
Yeah, what did they say? What did they say on the broadcast? City is one of 3 or 4 teams ever to go his first 4 games without allowing a goal. Yeah, pretty incredible.
And composure with the ball and composure without the ball on defense. There's an awesome pass map that Chat City Tactics retweeted, but it's from the MLS Stats and Information. That's Seattle passes in the final third, and it's great. They're lit up. They're all green. It's green, and it'll be origin point of the pass and then where the pass was received. 40 passes, maybe more. Only 2 or 3 of them in the box. It's unreal.
That's what
This is an absolute fortress.
That's what I wrote down. Like watching the game back, like what it is the defensive shape that we have. To your point, off that ball. And what I noticed watching the game is we're not just all out balls to the wall running at them with the press. It's a slow, steady press, but what we're doing is we're not running at the ball, we're running at the angles. And so if you looked at a lot of Seattle, they had almost 70% possession, but a lot of what it was is just them knocking it back and then eventually having to go back to their defense or even their keeper because we took away all the angles for their offensive. And then it was almost to where the only angles we were giving them, and if Seattle was going to beat us on the night, it was going to take something spectacular produced because we were just holding our shape so well and taking away those angles that it was going to have to be a shot from distance or just crazy link up play that you almost have to tip your hat to, that you just think they beat us. And I think that's, to your point, off the ball defense has been so much, not just the defense that you're seeing on the ball.
I will say though, and Leuven kind of alluded to this after the game, the possession and going forward in attack, if you're going to play a counter, it's got to be more clinical. And we said this against San Diego, and we said this last week against LA, although they were more clinical. But this game should have been done and dusted, boys, in about the 80th minute. I mean, Cello's got to put that one away. Well, he's got to put 2 of them away. You cannot afford to. It's a long season, man. You cannot expect to concede 65 to 70% possession to the other team and expect them not to score goals. Even if you are just spectacular goals, it's still going to be a goal, right? So there's got to be offense still has to improve for sure.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. Who was it that had the rebound off a Betcher's shot in the 83rd or 84th?
That was Cello.
Ostrak.
Cello. Cello whipped on the one.
Shot.
Ostrak got the blocked. I think was that John Bell or Nuhu that blocked that one. Yeah,
no, I think they said Bell. Which, by the way, Dave, you'll get this. David, you might not. Nuhu is the Antonio Rudiger of the MLS. The dude,
he's pretty S-housey.
Runs goof.
Yeah,
he
runs goofy. He's S-housed. He's just like that. I just kept. There was one ball where it was a playback, and he had. I don't think Toitschert even pressured him or anything, but he sprinted just high knees.
It was
arms
awesome.
Pumping,
yes.
And I'm sitting there going, "What's he doing?"
Yes,
and I was like, "This is Antonio Rudiger."
It needs to be a GIF for sure. It was awesome.
For sure.
He's probably a guy that other teams hate, but his own supporters probably love.
I think their team is. I think their team is full of those guys. That was a chippy game. There was some Eshousery going on in that game, and then when the ref didn't call that first foul on Cello, that was very clearly a pullback. In about the first 10 minutes, I knew we were kind of in for it. And I told you guys that I wanted to rant about something. And if you'll just indulge me for 90 seconds, I know we're on the clock here.
We are.
I don't know when this happened in this beautiful game that we love, but I am so tired of us just being told that jersey pulls and shoulder pulls and just full-on charges through the back are fair play. I'm so sick of it. I watch so much soccer from Friday afternoon all the way through Sunday night, and I just constantly see hands full of jersey, man, all the time, in the box, on set pieces. You got guys, they're a yard by somebody, and a guy will reach over somebody's shoulder and pull him back, and the guy will go down, and the referee will say no foul. This is not a game where you use your hands in contact. You can go shoulder to shoulder, absolutely. But a barge through the back is a foul. It foul 10 times out of 10. A jersey pull is a foul 10 times out of 10, even if the guy doesn't go down. It's impeding progress, and it drives me absolutely insane that the game has gotten so far gone to where now it's thought of that you're soft when you're calling for a foul when a dude's ripping your jersey off your body. And I'm tired of it.
Kessler rugby tackled somebody.
He did, and he got a yellow for it. He got a yellow for it.
It was wild.
Watch a corner kick in any European game. There's absolute muggery going on in the box. And
I got a feeling there was a lot of that going on in this game too. That you couldn't see it on the broadcast as much, but you brought up Nuhu. He was involved in a lot of it, so it seemed like there was a lot during some of the corners, and there were 11 of them. In case anybody was wondering, the over/under was 8.5, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, 11 corners. It seemed like a lot of jersey pulls and a lot of tugging going on, and just kind of jostling for position in the box.
Yeah, Ferreira got away with a punch in the box, an absolute punch.
Yeah, I don't know. There were
that guy rubbed me the wrong way.
Kind of surprised that weren't kind of given on the night. To your point, though, yeah, like I love a good physical game, but like you got a foul's a foul. And the other thing too is, to your point, I hate the like soft call. Like unless you've played the game, like you don't. When you're a full sprint, you got to realize like it doesn't take a whole lot to get you off balance, and especially a wraparound from arm to pull you this way when you're planting on your opposite foot, you're gonna it's a
foul. It's a foul 10 times out of 10. Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes the announcers just try to like toughen themselves up by also being like for me all day that's not that they're not enough in it. And it's just like, wait a minute. Like and to your point, I also hate when the announcers say that on one and then like because I think it was within the first 5 minutes or something like that, because he said something like, oh good, they're going to let him play. Shortly after, Kess does like a tackle that's less contact than that, and it's not given, and then he's back. It's like you gotta pick a lane, like if you're. And sometimes I feel like the commentators too try to like toughen it up, and then all of a sudden they're like, you can't do that, and it's like, well, wait a minute, like where are we at?
I noticed that. It was interesting to me. I want to, before we break on this and get final thoughts on the game, I do think the referee did a pretty good job for the most part. He did let him play. It might have gotten a little bit away from him towards the end because of some of the lack of calls. And I kind of noticed
run if you're going to let him play.
Yeah. I thought overall, like I would prefer that route than some of the ticky-tack stuff. But at one point, the broadcast crew towards the end was making a comment about the referee making it all about him and just kind of throwing out yellow cards for no reason. And I'm like, it's interesting to say that, because I agree. Like, and I hate when officials do that. You see it a lot in baseball, especially. It seems like one of the worst, like Angel Hernandez and some of these guys that have been umps for a long time. Obviously we don't have to deal with him anymore, but just frustrating, and it almost feels like they're taking the attention off the game or players and putting it on themselves. I didn't feel like he was doing that, but they definitely made that comment towards the end of it, because again, I thought that it was pretty fairly, like if you want to nitpick anything, he probably was a little bit too complacent in his card giving for the most part throughout it, or his foul calling, we could say. But but I think it was fair. Like overall, I didn't think it was one-sided one way or the other, and I thought both teams took some shots that they probably got away with.
And VAR bailed him out on the PK for sure.
Yeah. But you know what? That's what it's there for. You're going to make mistakes. It's hard to see everything in real time.
I'm not even talking about the handball. I'm talking about the guy going down before the contact came, and he got lucky that there was a handball for VAR to review. But yeah, I think overall it was fine. It's just like Eric said, if you're going to let teams play, you run the risk of it getting out of control like that, and it gets to a point where you have to start throwing out yellows towards the end for every little foul, because you're going to end up with fights, and then you're going to have to give out reds. So.
The other thing too is, I will say, like, I also think like the reason nobody was really talking about the ref post game, and we know how people love to talk about the ref. And the other thing is, like, I still don't know that ref's name. I still remember Joe Dickerson's name. So I don't think it was ever.
It's good. It's good if you get out of that with not knowing who the referee is.
All my homies hate Joe Dickerson.
We should get T-shirts printed up that say
Warrior logo wear. You're on it.
The official outfitter of Southland supporters. City improves the 1-0 win at home against Seattle. Now in third place, a tie essentially with San Diego and Colorado, as they sit with 8 points. Some tiebreakers put San Diego slightly ahead of City, but regardless, 4 goals scored and 0 given up this season, and just flying at this point. They'll travel to Philadelphia for a 6:30 start. I love the 6:30 road games. I am on team Eastern Conference. Let's go. Hopefully in the future that happens. That makes the away games much more easy to watch for an early riser like myself, and they will take them on. We'll have that second episode coming up later in the week where we preview Philadelphia and, of course, get to your Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions. Eric, it is almost beach season, sir. We're getting closer than ever. Your traps are popping out of this soccer jersey that you're wearing right now. You've obviously been in the gym, getting swole. Where can people go?
Well, they should come join me at Ready to Live Wellness. Like David said, it's getting warmer outside. You want to be outside doing all these activities or getting ready for that beach vacation we know you got coming up this summer. There's no better place to go than Ready to Live Wellness. No matter what style training you're looking to do, they'll make sure you're doing it, and they'll make sure you're doing it properly and safely with all your goals in mind. And then to make sure you're healthy for all these trips that you got going up, you go right upstairs and you see their body movement specialists, their PTs, their masseuses. It's all under one roof, and it's going to get you the best shape you can be. It's at Ready to Live Wellness.
That's Ready to Live Wellness at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard. Dave, you mentioned, hey, getting some new shirts, right? Getting outfitted for the spring, for the summer as you get in better shape. The clothes aren't fitting as well. Maybe you want a nice little South End Supporters logo or support whatever your local team is that you're supporting as well. Where can people go?
Well, for all your I Hate Dickerson swag or anything that you want to put on your newly swole body, you go to Warrior Logo Wear at 12 East Main Street in Mascoutah, Illinois, where they will meet all your individual and team sportswear needs, from t-shirts, hats, and hoodies to team sports uniforms and promo swag. Warrior Logo Wear is a proud veteran-owned business, and they bring that same dedication and discipline and attention to detail from their service time to every one of your projects. They can meet your tight deadlines with ease, and those prints, they stay vibrant and durable even after several washes, thanks to the top-notch materials and the technology that they use. You know, they got this new thing now where the teams are all setting up these custom web stores. Warrior Logo Wear's got you there. They can bring your brand to life, and it's never been easier online. So they'll launch your custom web store, and they'll handle everything from setup to shipping. With these web stores, you get a fully customizable online store with your products featuring a logo or a logo that they help you design. There are no order minimums, and they're perfect for any size event or company. Store setup is free, no hidden fees, baby, and they ship those products directly to your customers or employees. So check them out on Instagram at Warrior Logo Wear, all lowercase, on Twitter at Warrior Logo Wear, capital W, capital L, capital W, or at warriorlogowear.com, the official swag sponsor of the South End Supporters.
12 East Main Street in Mascoutah. Guys, I got to say, I had a couple people, dads on the volleyball team that were pinging me saying, hey, where can we go to get some volleyball swag? We want some new Mascoutah gear to go support these girls as they go up to and battle for their state tournament. And I said, there's one place. Like, there's one place to go. You got to go to Warrior Logo Wear. And they went in and they got taken care of, same day service. Just got some nice shirts, some purple and black with the Mascoutah Indian logo on it, and drove up to Normal, Illinois to watch some volleyball. So couldn't have been done, guys. Couldn't have been done without Warrior Logo Wear.
That's
so
awesome.
Amazing sponsor. We
great
really
story.
appreciate that. It is a great story. Moving on to more great stories, because we've got news and notes coming up now. Eric and Dave, please enlighten us on the goings and comings of St. Louis City.
So I just got just a couple here tonight. Two City players in Team of the Match Day, Eduard Leuven in starting, and then King Kess, Henry Kessler on the bench, which, man, how does this guy not get in the starting lineup? I saw, did you guys see the funny video that City put out last week with, like, man, like, you think, like, what does the guy have to do? It's at least great that he's getting this recognition. My worry is he's going to start getting too much recognition, and then, you know, we'll have to start hearing those certain teams are interested in Kessler rumors and stuff like that going around.
Well,
so
they can't have him.
No, he's ours. So congrats to those two. It's always great seeing any sort of City Red in the Team of the Match Day.
I want to say one thing on that, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Eric, you asked me a question earlier if people on the socials were complaining about Ben Lunt and Roman Burki, of course, Roman Burki's injury and that. The thing that I saw probably more complaints on than anything was that Tim Parker was in the thumbnail used by Apple for the
I saw
recap.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So, you talk about Kess and you talk about who Kess replaced, of course, with Tim Parker. And I don't understand why or where the miss was there. It's odd. I mean, I'm not going to sit and complain about it, but it's like, dude, get it together. Come on.
Somebody signs off on that before it gets published, right?
Yeah. I would think so.
You would think so. Like, we're even fully given up to AI yet. Like,
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you went to watch an NBA game? This is an extreme example, but could you imagine going to watch an NBA game and you're like, I want to watch the Mavericks highlights, and then seeing like a picture of Luka on that? Like that would
so
be crazy.
good.
It would be crazy.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen in any of the like
Yeah.
you have to get it together. And again, it's silly and it's like a funny thing to kind of like complain about or what have you, but. In all seriousness, like it's sloppy. It's sloppy work. We'll just say it what it is.
Yeah, get it together, Apple. In so
Especially
many different
considering
ways.
they also bring it up like every game. It feels like the whole Tim Parker trade and everything. They bring it up anyway, so it's just like, just let it go. Next, what I have is homegrown defender Tyson Pierce will join the U18 U.S. men's national team for their upcoming training camp in Marbella, Spain. It's just great again to see anytime that these young guys are getting this international experience. I know he's gotten it a little bit before, as well as Caden Glover. Still just looking for Mekhi Joyner to get a little bit more international experience as well.
He's been in
I
the
feel like
side. He's been in the side a couple times.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like, man, last year he should have just been a regular. It felt like the way he was playing last year. But
My question
I
is,
believe
will
you said-
Tyson Pierce get to play on better pitches than what Mekhi played on this past weekend?
I only saw pictures. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the game. I believe you said it was a 1-0 victory.
It was
as
a
well
1-0
for City
win.
too.
Yes.
But I only saw a picture, and I kept thinking, like, wait, was this a friendly? Like, this wasn't like an actual pitch they played.
It looks like it was in Tower Grove Park. That's what
Dave,
it
I
was.
think Field 3 that we play on Thursday nights is a little better condition than
Yeah,
in that thing.
yeah. There's a field there's a park that I play at sometimes on Mondays with our buddy Chris Mertz that is by the brewery that has similar pitch conditions to that. It's an embarrassment, man. Like, these are professional athletes and they're playing on like a less than high school quality field. Like, so I don't know if that's a Sporting Kansas City thing, which, let's go ahead and just blame it on them. But that's embarrassing, especially when you see the pitch that they play on here. I mean, you're playing at City Park here, and you're going and playing at this. I don't even know. I'm at a loss when I see things like that. Just like I am when I see like World Cup qualifiers being played at these fields, like in Jamaica, and it just it looks like a horse track, man. Like, just a couple of goats out there wouldn't look out of place.
Wait, was this a regular season game?
Yeah, it was their
City?
second game of the season. They knocked off North Texas 3-0 first game, and then knocked off Sporting Kansas City 1-0. But it's an embarrassment, man.
I didn't realize that.
Hey,
They have two stadiums.
Soccer
there.
capital of the country.
Yeah, they have. I was actually at a casino when I was in KC recently. It's right outside their women's professional stadium, which is super nice, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got two soccer stadiums there, and you're playing and whatever they were playing in. That's odd. I didn't realize that was like a regular season game against another MLS Next Pro team.
Yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
really
crazy.
it's really gross. But shout out to them for fighting through the terrible field and get another win.
Yeah, hope they keep it going.
And Joyner was the one that put the goal in too, so he's got 2 and 2.
Nice. It's great seeing that he continues to roll. The problem is, as we've touched on, there's so much depth within this first team that Open Cup.
No, it's
you gotta
good.
be
I want him
included.
to have time to develop and mature physically also before he gets thrown out there, and give him a real shot to stick. So yeah, Open Cup, man. Hopefully.
Yeah. That's all I have on my end, Dave. You got any more?
Yeah, the only thing I got really this week is internationally is we got the international break now and everywhere except the MLS. The U.S. men's team is taking on Panama in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Nations League. The CONCACAF Nations League. So the first leg will be Thursday, and then I think the second leg be Saturday. No, I guess they're only playing one leg. Oh, okay. Interesting. But just news out of there, the roster came out last week, correct? Beginning of last week. And true to form, you had a couple guys that got left off the roster that just absolutely lit it up this weekend. Most notably, Haji Wright scored a hattie for Coventry City, and he looked great, man. And he's been coming off injury, so he probably wouldn't have found his way into the side. But when you look at the team now and you see a couple MLSers in there, and you got a guy like Haji Wright that got left out, and I'm trying to think of who's still healthy and got left out. Balogun's still hurt. There are a couple guys that you're like, man, they could really use some international time, and Poch has gotten looped in. He's gotten hung up by the MLS quota, I guess, like every other coach has. So, but
I will say this on international break, since MLS doesn't, take a break for that. I know everybody always complains about Lutz, all he ever looks at is Germans. Like, there's a great chance that none of our Germans will ever have to leave us for international duty.
Great point.
We wouldn't have a roster if they had to leave for international duty.
If you had 3 or 4 Germans leave for international duty in the MLS, you'd probably be undefeated.
Yeah,
like,
this is true.
Let's work on that. Let's get Kimmich over here. Let's get Leroy Sané. Let's get guys like Goretz. Let's work on that. I mean, I'm willing to trade off a couple weeks every season to let them go play for Germany if they'll just destroy teams at City Park.
Yeah, I'm with that.
But those are your news and notes.
Good, solid news and notes. Appreciate it. That's always nice for me. It's informative. I get to learn a little something when you two get into what's going on with the club. Eric, where can people find us on socials?
You can find us on all our socials. On Instagram, we're South End Supporters. Our Twitter and our Reddit is _SES_podcast STL. Make sure you're following us on our Facebook page, as well as go check out our YouTube channel. We're just South End Supporters on YouTube, so make sure you go check that out, like and subscribe, as well as, if you don't mind, if you've checked out the show and you like it, go leave us a little review on any of your platforms that you happen to check us out at.
It doesn't even have to be a good one.
It doesn't have to be. We would like it to be, but it doesn't have to be.
We would prefer it to be.
You know what I like? I like honesty. Honesty, I think it's an underrated quality. And you know what? If you don't like what you heard, feel free, right? Feel free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Free country.
Or just send that to our socials so we keep our good reviews.
Yeah, I mean, we also reserve the right to delete the bad ones too. So but no, again, honesty, we're not going to do anything like that. I really appreciate it, of course, and want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Ready to Live Wellness at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard. If you are looking to get swole like Eric Cole, you got to check out Ready to Live Wellness, brother. And then also our official studio sponsor here and the official outfitter of all things South End Supporters, Warrior logo wear at 12 East Main Street in Mascoutah. Coming up on Thursday, we will have our St. Louis Kolache preview that will talk about the very solid squad Philadelphia's City will go take on Philly. They sit with 9 points in the Eastern Conference. It will be a 6:30 match in Philadelphia. So the St. Louis Kolache preview will be taking place on Thursday. We'll also have, of course, as always, the mainstay, the Felix's Pizza Pub, South End Submissions. Make sure to check them out for the away game. Would be a great place to go. 6401 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown. And, of course, 1530 South Kirkwood Road in Sunset Hills is where you will find those delicious St. Louis Kolaches. For the Monday Morning Center back, Dave Wyckoff, for Eric Cole, my name is David Heck. You've been listening to South End Supporters. We'll see you next week, and until then, let's go City.